two things that tend to get a bit of a bad rap this time of year. It's ugly Christmas sweaters and Brussels sprouts. Ooh. I don't even know. When I was doing this recipe, I was like, am I gonna win people over? But it's my mission today to win people over on Brussels sprouts. I think when people think of Brussels sprouts, they think of those ones that maybe their mom or their grandma or their family used to make, where they'd boil them for 87 hours, and they would be brown and very like stinky, just not what you want. But Brussels sprouts are really, really tasty. They're basically just tiny little cabbages. And if you've ever seen these growing on a stalk, it looks like something from space. Like it's a big stalk and these little babies just kind of grow out the side. Really, really cool. So I'm gonna show you how to jazz these up. And I'm not even gonna cook those babies. We're gonna make them into a delicious Brussels sprout salad. Really, really tasty. I love it so much. But first, as you are, what you're wont to do when you're using Brussels sprouts, we're gonna candy something. Again, wild, but we're just gonna candy some nuts because I love a candied nut on a salad, especially this time of year. It brings warmth, brings a little bit of sweetness, and it reminds me of my mom. In like the 90s, all she did was candy nuts. She was like, people are coming over, I got a bottle of store-bought dressing, candied nuts, I'm a chef. It was amazing. So I'm gonna show you how to make these. It's really, really simple. So I've got a few tablespoons of sugar that I've just got in a pan, a non-stick pan, over about medium heat. Now I just want enough sugar to coat the bottom of that pan, and as you can see, it's melting. So sugar, weirdly, is actually a liquid ingredient, because if you add heat to it, it turns into a liquid, not like flour, which would never do that. So as it's starting to melt, you can see there's a little bit of color starting. So basically we're making a really easy caramel. So into there, as this is melting, I'm gonna add in about a cup of walnut halves. I've chopped them up a little bit. You could do this with any sort of nut you want. So I'm just gonna add those on in. And typically, if you were making like a caramel for like a smooth, delicious, like ice cream sundae, I would never tell you to stir it, because I'm a like, don't stir sugar when you're caramelizing. But for me, with this, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a stir, and all that melted sugar is gonna start coating those walnuts. That little bit of heat in the pan is also gonna toast those walnuts up, and immediately, you can't even see that sugar on the bottom because it's stuck to those nuts. So it's gonna give you a nice candy texture, a little bit of sweetness. So now I'm just gonna transfer those onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. You can also do a little bit of aluminum foil with a bit of nonstick cooking spray, that would work too. And I just want those to cool completely, because there's one rule about sugar: when it's hot, don't touch it. It's the hottest thing in the world. Just leave that. I know it smells good, but just leave it for a minute. So now I'm gonna move on to the Brussels sprouts for this salad. So I've got 400 grams of Brussels sprouts right here, and they're cute and they're tasty, but what I wanna do is finely shred these. Now, if you want to, you can use a knife and sit here for about 20 minutes and shred those babies. But especially around the holidays, I'm always looking for shortcuts. And my food processor has this handy dandy little like slicing blade. And it is something that I only bust out this time of year, but it is so fast. So basically all you do is grab your Brussels sprouts, fill that little chute up a little bit, and then grab the plunger, stick it in, and then, did you see how fast that was? I mean, to me, that is like fascinating. So those Brussels sprouts shred up in absolutely no time flat. Again, just, what a delight. Honestly, this is something every time I'm like, I don't need to bust out my food processor, and then I do this. And I'm like, that was the fastest thing I've ever done in my life. All right, that's looking great. So those are nice and shredded, so I'm just gonna remove that blade from here, and then pop those shredded Brussels sprouts into a bowl. Now I'm just gonna pop them straight on into a serving bowl. And you see that? It's got beautiful texture, really good crunch. They're nice and sweet. But I'm also gonna add in some shredded kale. I'm just using dino kale or Tuscan kale here. It's really nice and green and it lasts long. And for me, anytime it's around the holidays, I also want ingredients and recipes that I can make ahead. And since I'm using Brussels sprouts and kale, it's really nice and hearty. So I could dress this in advance and it's gonna stay delicious pretty much all night long. So for the dressing, I'm just gonna make a really quick one with 2 cloves of garlic. So pop those cloves of garlic right on into a bowl. I've said this so many times and I'm sorry for repeating myself, but garlic is huge right now. Like the cloves are massive. So I'm gonna stick with 1 clove of garlic. You garlic to your heart's content though. So I'm just rasping that right on into a bowl. And then I'm gonna add in the zest and juice of a lemon. Lemon zest to me tastes the way you think a lemon tastes. It's not vinegary, it's not bright, it's not acidic, but it gives you that bright, delicious, like sunshine flavor. And fun fact, the wintertime is actually citrus season. I think it's like nature's way of convincing us that the sun still exists. on those really dreary winter days. It's a really good thing. Now I'm gonna add in the juice of that lemon as well. And that's gonna kind of pickle that garlic a little bit. So it's not gonna be super duper strong. So add that on in. Now I wanna add in a little bit of vinegar. I'm using apple cider vinegar, just a few tablespoons. You can use any sort of kind of like lighter colored vinegar. And then for a little bit of emulsification and flavor, just a couple of teaspoons of Dijon mustard. That's gonna make this nice and creamy and delicious. Give that a whisk up. And then, ooh, I really flopped. She's making a mess today. It's the ugly Christmas sweater, I swear. All right, I'm gonna just drizzle in a little bit of oil just to bring that together. That's looking beautiful. Season that up with some salt and pepper. And then all I need to do is toss that onto that delicious bowl of greens. So just pour that all over top. Absolutely beautiful. And then to garnish this baby up, all I wanna add is some onion. I've got some thinly sliced red onion. If you wanna pull back on the flavor of the onion, toss it with a little bit of vinegar too. That's gonna give it a little bit of a pickle, which is absolutely beautiful. Just toss that over. Also, this sounds wild, but if you want, you can also lightly pickle apple slices. Pop those on top too. Give it a bit of a mix. I'm a blue cheese gal because that's what I do, but you can use whatever cheese you want, but some blue cheese on top for me is a dream. Maybe some pomegranate seeds for, again, festiveness. And then we can't forget about those little nuts. So I've got those nuts back here. They are nice and cooled. You can see they're kind of candied and caramelized. So I'm just gonna bust those apart right on top of that salad. And that, to me, looks like one heck of a side dish any time of year, but in particular, when you're wearing an ugly Christmas sweater and you're about to eat some cake. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.